As you play through Pokemon Sun and Moon, you might notice that you're acquiring these items called Bottlecaps. Now, these have never been in Pokemon before, so you're wondering why there's regular and golden Bottlecaps and why people keep talking about them, because they're used for this thing called hyper training, and somehow you need a level 100 Pokemon. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because in all of my Bottlecap guides and whenever I mention, yo, like, I got a gold Bottlecap, guys, this is a big deal, I've been getting a lot of questions of people asking, well, how do you use Bottlecaps, or what are they used for? Because if you select a Bottlecap, it doesn't do anything. It says give to a Pokemon, and that accomplishes nothing. So what you need to do to use a Bottlecap is go to the shopping mall in Howoli City. Then you want to talk to this guy right here, Mr. Hyper. So once you have a level 100 Pokemon, and once you get some Bottlecaps, it's time to get hype, because that's where the hyper training comes into play. So you talk to him, and then he pretty much tells you about what you need. You know, you need to unleash the Pokemon's full potential, but they also do need to be the max level in Pokemon, and you need those Bottlecaps. And then what you do is you just select a stat that isn't maxed out, and boom, 31 IVs right there. Well, now we're going to start getting into some other discussions and other talking points, because what are IVs? Now, for the most part, if you've done any kind of breeding, any kind of competitive Pokemon, you should understand IVs pretty well, but pretty much it's a Pokemon's true stat potential. Now, you might know about EV training, but if you max out Pokemon's EVs, and then these stats don't max out as what you've seen in guides and stuff, that's because the IVs are not maxed, and hyper training allows you to make this Pokemon have the highest stats possible. Now, the ways of finding out a Pokemon's IVs are talking to Mr. Hyper or going to the battle tree. Now, if you go to the battle tree and you talk to the Ace Trainer and he talks about like judging a Pokemon's potential, you'll unlock the judge button in the PC. Now, if you click on the judge button in the PC, you can see the Pokemon's IVs, best being the best. That is 31 IVs, but also that if you've hyper trained a Pokemon, it will say hyper trained. Now, this is actually very important, because it's not like, oh wait, a max IV Ditto is what you need for breeding. You know, you hear about people talking about 6 IV Dittos for breeding and stuff. So that means if you get a Ditto level 100, you hyper train it, you use it for breeding, boom, you're good to go. Well, that's not how hyper training works. It's purely cosmetic, which is why it says hyper train as opposed to being the best stat. So you cannot use hyper train stats for breeding, because those stats will not pass down as max IVs. Also, another thing to point out is that hyper training is going to be incredibly useful on legendary Pokemon or Pokemon in the undiscovered egg group. Undiscovered egg group Pokemon have minimum of 3 max IVs, and sometimes you can even get more off of that by just getting lucky. As you can see, I caught a Pheromosa that has 4 max IVs, and the reason why this is really good with hyper training is because there's silver and gold Bottlecaps. Gold Bottlecaps will max out all of the stats, thus giving you an effective 6 IV Pokemon in battle, but silver Bottlecaps only max out 1 stat. However, if you catch an undiscovered Pokemon, if you have 3 beneficial stats, you can only use 2 Bottlecaps, and now you have an effectively perfect Pokemon, because you don't need 6 IVs for true competitive. That whenever you look at natures, you know, adamant nature, that's going to boost attack and lower special attack, so you don't need a max special attack Pokemon. And even for special attackers, having a high physical attack is actually a drawback because of moves like Foul Play and the damage calculation off of Confusion. So if you have a Pokemon with a modest nature or a quiet nature, or just isn't using physical attacks, then you really don't want to have it have any good IVs in the attack stat, which is why Silver Bottlecap could be better. Now, in other cases where you're just trying to max out, that's where you just throw down a Bottlecap and you have an instant competitive Pokemon. Once it hits level 100, then you EV train it, and boom, you're good to go right there. But that means you do have to get the Pokemon to level 100, and that can be a bit of a challenge in its own. Another point about hyper training is that through SOS battles, a Pokemon can have up to 4 guaranteed IVs, with shiny odds also getting better as the SOS train goes on. So it makes it pretty easy to get a shiny competitive Pokemon by using 1 or 2 Bottlecaps after you catch it. So the idea is you kind of want to farm up silver Bottlecaps, but then you can have gold Bottlecaps in your pocket, because technically you just need the right nature at that point, and that's doable with a synchronized Pokemon. Then you can get to level 100, boom, use the silver Bottlecaps that you need, or just drop a gold Bottlecap, and that is a good way of training Pokemon. But I say that the biggest problem is going to be getting a Pokemon to level 100. That this can take 8 to 10 or even more hours of constant gameplay, even with the best method. So if you want to know how to get a Pokemon to level 100, I have several guides. It's called the Beware method. Pretty much you get a Pokemon like Aegislash, Ghost-type Pokemon, False Swipe Substitute that can one-hit KO Bewares through SOS battles, and that is going to be the fastest experience in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So that is a very necessary part of this guide, because if you can't get a Pokemon level 100, then hyper training doesn't really work out. As for obtaining bottle caps, there's actually quite a lot of ways of doing it. I would say one of the best ones would be the Festival Plaza, that by going through the Festival Plaza and getting only treasure hunt lottery areas, those have a chance of being a #1 prize for a golden bottle cap or a #2 prize for a regular bottle cap. So if you max out your Festival Plaza and you keep trying every day, you can average a bottle cap, I would say, one every 3 days, even with sometimes, you know, you getting back-to-back bottle caps, 2 golden bottle caps in a day, a gold bottle cap in 2 days, or something like that. So your odds can vary because it's just completely random. That's going to be a good way of doing it. Also, if you want to guarantee getting a regular bottle cap, that as soon as you install a 2-star treasure hunt place, it will reward you with a regular bottle cap 100% of the time. I have a video on this. Pretty much you replace anything with a 2-star treasure hunt that you receive from someone just randomly on your Festival Plaza. So what you want to do is you want to friend them, then replace that with any kind of garbage thing, add it back in, replace it, add it back in. That's going to be a way of farming bottle caps at the cost of festival coins. So that is a way to do it. Also, we can go and hop on over to Cerebi and check out other ways of getting the bottle cap. The Battle Tree, Pony Gauntlet, Seafolk Village, and then fishing. So at the Battle Tree, if you get a consecutive win streak of 30, you can return the next day, and then you will receive a regular bottle cap right there. For the Pony Gauntlet, you receive a bottle cap from Mina. So that's kind of like you just kind of gather up bottle caps throughout the story, so that's a way of doing it. Another way that you might just randomly already have bottle caps without even trying is through fishing, because by fishing in Pony Island, you can maybe just randomly fish up a bottle cap as an item instead of a Pokemon. And then a way of getting exclusively gold bottle caps is going to be through the Pokepelago. That if you do the path for rare treasure hunting on the Pokepelago, there is a very, 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 very small chance that you can get a gold bottle cap. So what you want to do is you want to max that one out immediately if you are considering hyper training as a main form of getting competitive Pokemon. Then you max it out, you fill up all the Pokemon in there, and then what you want to do is you want to use 36 beans every day, try to get 12-hour intervals, and then hope that you get a golden bottle cap. I've only received 2 golden bottle caps through this method in almost 2 months of Pokemon being out, doing it about 1 to 2 times every single day. So it's just one of those things where, oh, hey, that could be cool, but also at the same time, people have reported receiving 2 bottle caps at once. So it just kind of adds up that if you're doing it for weeks, months, you might just receive 1, 2, 5, maybe even more gold bottle caps from this method, and that could be really good for creating a competitive team right there. And then there's the Magearna event. So what you do is you go onto the Pokemon website, you scan the QR code, you head back into the How Elise City shopping mall, and then you go to the antique area. There'll be a delivery man there. He gives you a Magearna. If you don't care about Magearna, that's cool. If you do care about it, you can soft reset it. But the Magearna does come with a bottle cap, so you can just jack the bottle cap off the Magearna, and that just kind of shows that there is a few ways of getting guaranteed bottle caps when you're just kind of wandering around through Pokemon Sun and Moon. I think that's it for like acquiring bottle caps in general. But I will say I was very surprised when I saw people asking questions about hyper training whenever I received gold bottle caps, because it's a really weird thing. I knew what bottle caps were for. I think the Pokemon Company did a really good job explaining how to use bottle caps and what hyper training is all about. So whenever you receive any kind of bottle cap, that could be just like a super big deal, but if you don't know what it's for, it's like, oh, I have a bottle cap. I have a gold bottle cap. What do I do with this one? It's actually an incredibly valuable item. Like, receiving a gold bottle cap is on par with receiving a Master Ball from the other lottery areas in the Festival Plaza. And also, if you really want to farm up for bottle caps, there's just a lot of min-maxing that you can do. You know, you max out your Festival Plaza, then you also go and you do the treasure hunting, and then you just pretty much fish on Pony Island. That through fishing over and over and over and over again, you have a really good chance of receiving these bottle caps in a fair amount of time. I've heard people average that they can get a bottle cap every 6 minutes or so, which means you can get 10 bottle caps an hour. So that means an hour of fishing is effectively 1 competitive Pokemon, or even more over time, which is why the comparison to breeding is going to come into play. But I feel that with the way that we have SOS battles, with the way that you can chain for 4, 5, or 6 IV Ditto really easily, and then breeding is also still very easy in Pokemon Sun and Moon, I just think hyper training isn't super worth it in the end. That it's something that you want to use to augment your breeding. That, okay, if you have that shiny Pokemon that you really want to make competitive, you can use it there. That if you really want to make it an easy legendary Pokemon, because all those legendary Pokemon that you catch, they're already high levels, so they're going to be kind of easy to push up to level 100, and then you can go max them out and then have a competitive Pokemon right there. So it really helps for that undiscovered egg grouping, and maybe just some other stray Pokemon. that when you're doing the SOS Beware method for level 100 Pokemon, that's going to be your entire party going up to level 100. Now, ignoring the Aegislash, that means you have 5 Pokemon. So if you have 2, 3, or 4 legendary Pokemon, that means there's space for some regular Pokemon that you can use for the hyper training if you're just trying to do batches of hyper training. So I think it works out that, you know, if you're burned out on breeding, do hyper training. If you're burned out on trying to go and farm up level 100 Pokemon, then you can go back to breeding. And I think it's just going to be like a nice little quick advancement, but it's not going to be like the utter replacement of breeding, which is why I feel that actually, when you break it down, it just takes so much work to get a level 100 Pokemon. So hyper training is kind of useless, and the fact that you can't even use it for breeding shows that there's way too much of a split right here, and that it doesn't really help out competitive Pokemon battling at all, really. That it reduces the wear of soft resetting for legendaries. I guess you can bring over legendary Pokemon from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but then that just covers up hacking. That if someone goes and cheats a perfect legendary Pokemon, well, this is pretty much Game Freak saying, well, we're not going to stop people that are cheating, hacking the game, using PK Hex, Pokegen, or whatever the kids are cheating with nowadays. That what you do is you hack in a lot of rare candies, you hack in a lot of bottle caps, and then you just rare candy the Pokemon level 100, you hyper train it with a gold bottle cap, now you have an undetectable hacked Pokemon. So I feel it enables too much hacking, and it pretty much is like Game Freak just saying, well, instead of stopping hacking, here's something that you can do that can at least make it to where you're competing with the unfair advantage of hackers. And that's why I'm not really a big fan of it. And then the time to get level 100 Pokemon, even with the fastest method. You know, there's no Blissey bases. There's no big, I wouldn't even say exploit. There's nothing that can really be used for gaining fast amounts of experience. That it's Elite Four, which is very fast, and the Beware method, which is slightly faster, and then you're still in it for hours and hours. Like, I think it's 9 to 10 hours of perfect hardcore full focus play, but you know, you're not gonna be able to do that for 9 to 10 hours, so it can take 2 days of playing very frequently with a fair amount of attention, because if you're in the chain or you're not paying attention, well, then that's pretty bad right there. So it takes a lot of effort to do hyper training. The bottle caps do start becoming more and more common, is what I feel. That I have 5 gold bottle caps, 22 regular bottle caps. I don't know if I'm ever going to get that many level 100 Pokemon. I really want to try out the method, but it just kind of shows that it's a nice little augmentation, but overall, I think as an idea, it doesn't really work to break down cheating, and it doesn't, like, it just pissed off people. People are going to hack in retaliation of this method being so broken, and then you can just breed anyways if you know what you're doing when you're breeding. So if you've developed your breeding skills, then yeah, hyper training isn't really going to do much for you. So that's pretty much all there is to it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.